Scale drawings, exercise 1G from rates and ratios. The learning intention for this lesson is to use a ratio to describe a map scale. So scales on maps and house plans and things like that, they're all examples of ratios. The reason why we draw house plans, for example, or large designs for things to scale is because obviously it's not logical to draw them. Well, it wouldn't be accurate. How would you possibly draw a house on a piece of paper? Okay, so by drawing everything to the correct scale, everything is in the right proportion, and you can get a good idea of how things will suit. And obviously, for a builder, that's really important. Okay, but even if you're not the builder, if you're building your own home, you really want to have a look and say, okay, well, my bedroom is slightly smaller than my living room, my kitchen is this size, and you're able to run in proportion and see how everything kind of sits. So it's really important that things are drawn correctly to scale in a ratio. Okay, maps are another example of a scale drawing. Okay, so imagine we didn't draw maps to scale. How would we possibly draw different countries and things like that? But if they were just drawn smaller and there was no thought put into it, well, you wouldn't know which country is larger than which country. You couldn't maybe make a judgment of how long something will or how far something is and things like that. So it's really important that everything is drawn in proportion and accurately. Now we can draw a scale in two different ways. Okay, it's always the drawing length first, followed by the actual length. Okay, either we draw them with units, so we will say, for example, 1 centimeter is equivalent to 1 meter. Or we do it without units, we say 1 is to 100, where it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if it was 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter would equal 100 millimeters. 1 centimeter would equal 100 centimeters. Okay, so if there's no unit, it just means that both measurements are in the same unit. Otherwise, you can specify the units. Okay, so depending on what type of drawing it is in the situation, different ways would become more appropriate. But you obviously need to be familiar with both because you don't know what you may get in a question or what you might have to work with. Alright, having a look at example 13. So it says a scale drawing has a scale of 1 to 50. Find the actual length if the drawing length is 30 millimeters. Answer to the nearest centimeter. Okay, so if it's 1 to 50, set it up as you would any ratio. So 1 to 50, and then this one actual length of the drawing is 30 millimeters. So we need to work out what this is. I haven't given myself much space. Alright, so to get from 1 to 30, we multiplied by 30. So we need to obviously multiply this side by 30. So that would be 1500. Now this here was millimeters. So that means that is millimeters. Now the question asks us to give our answer to the nearest centimeter. So we then need to convert 1500 millimeters to something centimeters. And now to get to from millimeters to centimeters, you need to divide by 10. Okay, so 1500 divided by 10 would give me 150 centimeters. Okay, so that's part A. Now part B. Again, I've drawn it a little bit big. Part B says, find the drawing length if the actual length is 4.5 meters. Answer to the nearest millimeter. Okay, so we've got 4.5 meters as the actual length. So 1 to 50 is still our scale, and this here is 4.5 meters. Now I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm actually going to convert it to millimeters first. Reason being, we're dealing with decimals and it makes no difference, but in this question I just think it's more convenient. Okay, so to go from meters to millimeters, we need to go to centimeters first. So meters to centimeters, we are timesing by 100. And then centimeters to meters, we're timesing by 10. Okay, so 4.5 times by 100 will be 450 centimeters, and then times by 10 will be 4,500 millimeters. Okay, so we can swap that out and call this 4,500 millimeters. Okay, to get from 50 to 4,500, Well, to work out what was multiplied, I can just divide 4,500 by 50, and I will get 90. Okay, so that was a times 90, which means that this side I need to times by 90. So I get 90 millimeters as my final answer. Okay, so 4.5 meters on the actual length would be represented by 90 millimeters on the scale drawing. Okay, so there's your answer for that one, and up here your answer for that one. Okay, hopefully that made a bit of sense. So just make sure you're having a look at those additional questions as well as HSC questions for this exercise. There are a fair few HSC questions to get through.